You might have noticed there's a few really nice space sim titles heading this way, and interestingly, these focused on one of the best parts of the space game genre. That is, specifically flying the spaceship itself. Now, what makes this particularly nice is that there's something here for everyone, and that means regardless of whether you're into complex ship combat, or if you prefer perhaps the intricacies of piloting across a fully functional solar system, then you're going to find that these titles are a good fit. Also, what makes these titles worth noticing is the level of focus they're putting into their spaceships. In fact, each of these are moving away from simplistic ship design, and honestly, that's a part of what makes this genre such a pleasure, because in one title, you're a deep space combat pilot, and in another, you're controlling an interplanetary lander. So then, we have a range of games here, some of which are available right now, others coming very soon. And if you're anything like me, and love being in the seat of the cockpit, then you're likely going to want to keep an eye on these. The first of these titles I want to talk about has some truly amazing combat alongside a very deep flight model. It's called Hunternet Starfighter, and what we're really looking at here is not only the idea of a really nice Newtonian dogfighting game, but also the idea of building the MMO structure around it. It follows Newtonian physics, there's a lot of G-force modelling going on here, as well as optional flight assist for those who want it. We got fully simulated cockpits as well, and this one's not only about combat, because we've also got mining, racing, war games, organisations, carriers, as well as a persistent universe where war is continuing over the territory and resources that are contained within it. Now, it's also pretty clear that this is definitely a PvP-centred game. Not all of them in this video are going to be PvP-centred, but this one is. But it's not just purely about combat, because gathering those resources is absolutely essential for maintaining your front lines. Now, recent development updates have also somewhat revealingly shown that persistence is going alive in the test universe, and that means that multi-location support, jump gate travelling, asteroid mining being completed and tested, and players gaining the ability to command and pilot carriers as well, and these are pretty large. They're around about 1.5 kilometers, now I do believe. So with this game, we've got a title that not only models a full Newtonian flight, but also a full war as well. Next up, we've got a very interesting title. It's called In the Black, and it's coming on the 5th of May, as revealed very recently by the guys over at the excellent LT Gaming. So this then is an upcoming early access hired sci-fi space combat sim set in our own solar system, where you play as a private military contractor fighting shadow wars for mega corporations. Now, the important thing here is that the game is explicitly built around science-grounded technology and Newtonian movement. That means nuclear-powered fighters, railguns, missiles, as well as keeping track of heat and radiation effects and much more. In other words, this is not arcade dogfighting at all. There's no artificial gravity, no fancy force fields, no magical propulsion shortcuts, and even the damage model is focused on kinetic heat and radiation effects. Now, they say early access is set to include 5 nuclear-powered fighter classes, each with multiple variants. There's also going to be a ship frame editor that will allow you to customize loadout, appearance, as well as the name of the ship itself. As for gameplay, this focuses on contract missions like recon, interdiction, ship strike, and station defense, as well as a simulator mode. And multiplayer will focus on assault, conquest, as well as a team deathmatch, and these are available in 5v5 modes. So as you can probably tell from these details, as well as the footage on the screen, this is very much about feeling like you're in the seat of their ship. And that kind of takes us into Sylph. This is another game I want to talk about and was released in the early part of April. And this is where things get pretty interesting because there's no space combat here. Instead, what happens is you're in first person sitting there inside the cockpit, and the game is set in a star system that's orbiting a black hole. The game is built around realistic orbital mechanics, momentum-based 6 degrees of freedom in your flight. You've got docking here going on, and that means you'll have to resolve the rendezvous as well as the transfer planning between point to point, and that means obviously a deeply modelled spacecraft. You can see that from the footage here. In terms of flight then, it's arguably one of the most realistic flight models we've seen for a very long time in the space game arena. Now, if you're not up to flying the whole ship manually, there is an autopilot layer here as well, but this also really does tell us a lot about the flight model, because it's not just a set and forget. Instead, you're going to need to use prograde, retrograde. All of these are going to have to be there to allow you to get from point to point within the star system. And any of you who have played the Kerbal Space Program or similar games, you'll be very familiar with how a lot of this actually works. On top of that, the ship itself has startup sequences, circuit breakers, generators, pumps, valves, thermal behaviour and cascading failures as well. And then you factor in the black hole, which is not just there for scenery, it's actually having a real effect on you, including gravitational lensing, photon sphere, Doppler beaming, redshift and gravity funnel, as well as quite a few things as well, not to mention the event horizon itself. So yeah, this game is going to be very niche indeed, but I can see a lot of people actually probably quite enjoying it. I'm considering trying this one out for myself for an in-depth video over the coming days, so if it's something you do want to see more of, do let me know. Final Orbit goes into a similar direction, I guess, but it does have the same sort of territory. At the moment, it's still unreleased, but it does have a 2026 release date. Now, over on Steam, you'll see this pitched as Flight Simulator meets Truck Simulator, all set in space. It is a Newtonian physics cockpit game, and you'll be taken off from the surface of a planet, reaching space, plotting interplanetary courses, docking with station, trading commodities, taking shipping contracts and buying upgrades for better ships and modules. Inside the ship, you'll find fully customizable touch displays, and every display that actually has a purpose, as well as a real button that has a function. And perhaps more importantly, the ship is not just allowing you to point the nose in a direction and head there, because you're going to have to be able to manage propellant, heat, power, and even optimize choices like insulation and radiators as well, because the developers claim that all of these are going to matter, especially when you start flying closer to the sun. And in a very nice touch, it's also mentioned that every planet and moon is handcrafted rather than being procedurally generated, and that the game also supports VR as well as HOTAS. And then we come to Flight of Nova, and this has a very different focus to the other games, and I've actually played this a few times. It went into early access in 2022, and it already has a very positive rating over on Steam. So what makes Flight of Nova different is that it's a non-combat sim, and it's set in the Norren star system. It's built around transport and search missions, as well as realistic gravitation and orbital physics. You also see a lot of aerodynamics here, which is inspired by Earth data. Aerodynamic drag is in there as well. That's based on vessel shape, as well as real-time orbital data. And you'll be able to see from the footage that you've also got atmospheric flight and re-entry. This also includes VTOL flight, orbital stations, docking, which proves very interesting, as well as outposts dotted across the surface of the world. Now, like I say, this is in early access. You can play it right now. I think there's a free demo available as well. And interestingly, it has 3 pilotable spacecraft and 16 orbital stations that you can interact with, and around about nearly 200 actually outposts, 15 different training missions as well for you to get to grips with. Now, what's always struck me when playing Flight of Nova is the immediacy and the weight of flying the craft themselves. And I think if you're up for the whole procedure of flying in space and the difficulty of docking and aligning your ship correctly, as well as making a successful re-entry, because yes, you can explode on re-entry if you're not too careful there, you need to align correctly, then this could be, well, the game for you. There's a lot going on here, and it really heavily rests on a successful and nice flight model. So there we have it, 4 new and upcoming games that really give you a nice bit of Newtonian flight and improved flight model. If that's something that you feel you've been missing over the recent years in your space sims, then these titles are going to be well worth trying out. All the information you need is in the video description below, and I'd also love to hear your thoughts on these titles. Do let me know in the comments section. There's another video on the screen right here if you want to check that out. My thanks to you for watching this video all the way through. Do take care, and I'll catch you next time.